In the heart of a desolate ice town where the sun's rays barely kissed the snow-laden ground, there lived a little princess named Hannah. Her world was a canvas of white, a small isolated village that thrived in the embrace of winter. The villagers, a hardy folk, had eyes like the clear winter sky and hair that shimmered like the frost. They lived in harmony with the biting cold, their breaths weaving misty tales in the frigid air. Hannah, with her snow-white hair and piercing ice-blue eyes, was the jewel of this frozen realm. She was the daughter of a formidable warrior king, a man whose presence was as commanding as the blizzards that guarded their land. His skin was etched with the stories of battles past, a tapestry of scars that spoke of his indomitable spirit. He taught Hannah the language of steel and the dance of combat, instilling in her a belief that only the weak perish. The tranquility of their icy haven was shattered when a voracious kingdom, led by an aging king with eyes like a stormy sea, sought to expand its dominion. This king, whose once black beard was now a battlefield of black and white, had a son, a prince with the build of a bear and the grace of a prowling wolf. The prince's hair was a golden mane, and his jaw was set with the determination of one who never knew defeat. The kingdom's armies, like a relentless tide, swept through the lands, leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. They descended upon the ice village like a plague, their armor glinting like 1,000 betraying stars against the night sky. The warrior king fought with the fury of the northern gales, but even he could not stem the onslaught. In his final act of defiance, he concealed Hannah within a secret chamber beneath the earth, his eyes telling tales of love and sorrow. When the silence returned, it was a dirge for the fallen. Hannah emerged from her icy crypt to a world robbed of color and warmth. The village was a mausoleum of memories, the air heavy with the ghosts of her people. She wandered through the ruins, her heart a fortress of ice, vowing vengeance upon the kingdom that had stolen everything from her. Years passed, and the princess grew into a warrior whose beauty was matched only by her lethality. Her skin was pale as the snow she walked upon, her body honed by the wilderness into a weapon of retribution. She wore a cloak of wolf fur, a crown of frost upon her head, and her eyes burned with a cold fire. The old king, now a shadow ensnared by time's relentless march, announced a competition to find the fiercest warrior to marry his son and continue his legacy. Hannah saw her chance for vengeance. She would become the blade that would pierce the heart of her enemies. The competition was a spectacle of blood and valor. Warriors from across the lands gathered, their muscles taut and eyes hungry for glory. Hannah entered the fray, her movements a symphony of violence, each strike a note that sang of her rage and sorrow. The prince watched her, captivated by the dance of death she performed, seeing in her the warrior queen he desired. As the competition drew to a close, it was Hannah who stood victorious, her blade dripping with the testament of her skill. The prince approached, his golden hair like a halo in the dim light, his hand extended in a gesture of respect and admiration. But behind Hannah's eyes, a storm was brewing, a tempest of vengeance that no one could quell. The wedding was a grand affair, the kingdom celebrating the union of its prince to the fierce ice warrior. But as the festivities reached their zenith, Hannah's heart was a chasm of darkness. She had woven a web of deceit, her smile a mask that hid the venom of her intent. As the prince lay beside Hannah on their wedding night, his chest rose and fell with the deep, trusting breaths of a man who believed he had found his perfect match. Little did he know, the woman he had chosen to share his life with harbored a dark, unforgiving heart. Hannah's eyes gleamed in the soft moonlight that filtered through the windows, her expression hardening with unwavering resolve. Slowly, she rose from the bed, her silhouette casting an ominous shadow across the room. Her hands, once delicate and gentle, now transformed into instruments of her twisted will. The prince stirred, sensing a disturbance in the air. As his eyes fluttered open, he was met with the horrifying sight of Hannah looming over him, her face a mask of cold determination. In that moment, he saw the reflection of his own doom in her icy gaze. Without hesitation, Hannah pounced, pressing the soft, downy pillow against the prince's face. He struggled, his muffled cries echoing through the chamber as he fought for his life. But Hannah's grip was unyielding, her arms like steel bands, crushing the air from his lungs. The prince's movements grew frantic, his body thrashing in a desperate attempt to break free. But it was a losing battle, the flickering flame of his life slowly extinguished by the relentless pressure of the pillow. His ease, once filled with hope and love, now reflected only the terror of his impending demise. With a final agonizing gasp, the prince's struggles ceased, and the room fell silent, save for the sound of Hannah's steady breathing. The once vibrant young man lay motionless, his face forever frozen in a mask of horror, a testament to the ruthless cruelty of his new bride. The kingdom awoke to a horror that eclipsed all others. The prince, their beacon of hope, lay cold and lifeless, slain by the very hands that had pledged to cherish him. Hannah stood before the old king, her eyes voids of remorse, her voice the harbinger of his end. "You sought a warrior," she said, her words like shards of ice. "I am the storm you feared, the frost that claims the warmth of life. Your son, your kingdom, your legacy, they are all extinguished." With a swift motion, she drew her blade and brought it down upon the king, his blood a crimson stain upon the snow. The kingdom fell into chaos, its pillars of power crumbled by the hands of a girl they had underestimated. As Hannah surveyed the carnage she had wrought, a shard of mirror caught her eye, reflecting her own image back at her. In that moment, she did not see the delicate princess she once was, but a twisted, monstrous figure forged by the fires of vengeance. Her hands, once soft and gentle, were now stained with the crimson blood of her beloved and her enemies alike. Hannah contemplated the weight of her deeds. She realized that the price of her revenge had been the very essence of her humanity. Her soul, once pure and untainted, had become a barren wasteland, as desolate and unforgiving as the icy town of her childhood. The warmth and compassion that had once defined her had been replaced by a numbing chill, a void where her conscience once resided. As Hannah walked away from the ruined kingdom, the snow began to fall, blanketing the land in a pristine, icy shroud. The cold, which had once been a constant companion to the people of the isolated ice village, now seemed to embrace her like an old friend. Hannah felt no discomfort, no shiver of the bone-chilling wind that whipped through the desolate landscape. The words her father had imparted to her as a child echoed in her mind, a mantra that had become the foundation of her very being. Only the weak die, the strong survive. In that moment, Hannah knew that she had become the embodiment of her father's teachings. She had risen from the ashes of her village's destruction, forged into a warrior whose strength was tempered by the unforgiving embrace of the cold. The icy chill that once threatened to consume her now seemed to bolster her resolve, a constant reminder of the power that flowed through her veins. As the snow continued to fall, Hannah's footsteps left a trail of solitary footprints in her wake. She was no longer the delicate princess of her youth, but a force to be reckoned with, a living testament to the notion that only the strong could thrive in the face of adversity. The Frostbitten Queen, as she would be known, had risen from the ashes of her past, her heart as cold and unyielding as the very ice that had once threatened to claim her. She had become the embodiment of her father's teachings, a warrior whose strength knew no bounds, and whose thirst for vengeance had transformed her into a force of nature that could not be tamed. And so, the tale of Princess Hannah, the warrior of the ice village, became a legend whispered in fear and awe, a story of a crown won by frostbite, a throne forsaken for revenge, and a woman whose very essence had been forged in the crucible of the unforgiving cold.